All right. What is going on, guys? It is Pete Nova from the Face Off Sports Network. For those of you who just watched this stream, we just went over our week one recap live. If you missed it, go check it out. We are shifting over here. I have a guest with me tonight. It is Jacob Krogan. I hope I pronounced the
Oh
last
yeah.
name correctly. From the BSing Sports Bets side podcast slash, we'll plug his information into the chat so you guys have it so you can subscribe. It is BSing Sports Bets on Twitter if you want to go follow him as well. But yeah, today we're going to talk, pretty much Denver Broncos week one recap. We're also going to talk a little bit Monday night football betting as people start to kind of join in here. We appreciate anybody that decides to come in. If you have questions, we'll answer any Thursday night football betting questions as well. But Jacob, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Would have been better yesterday if we could have got a win, but it is
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah,
And that's kind of the important thing. I want people to just relax. I think people got anticipations were high. People wanted to score and win and not have that offense that we've had for the last, decade almost. And so just relax. Growing pains happen and be patient. That's kind of the big start off I want people to understand.
yeah. I agree. We have your side BSing. Ryan says, "What's up, fellas? What's up, Ryan?
Oh
How
yeah.
you doing, man?" Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I understand your point. And I get fans being a little upset too. I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, this offense has been abysmal even when they won the Super Bowl, right? Peyton
Mhm.
was a shell of himself, and the offense wasn't even good that year. So it's been pretty much a decade since we've seen a good offense competent. But I'm not hitting the panic button just yet. We'll
Mhm.
get into our thoughts, vibes about the position groups and kind of just go from there. But I guess to kind of kick it off, Sean Payton, right? Like second year as a coach. There's a lot of people out there that have their mixed feelings about Peyton. I kind of look at Sean Payton like a Aqib Talib, right? Almost like a dirty player on your team where it's like you hate him when he's not your guy, but you love him when he's yours. And
Mhm.
he kind of draws that target on his back. But I mean, what are your thoughts on Peyton in terms of like forgetting about this game, but just talking from a bigger standpoint? Do you have concerns about him on the long term side of things? And then when it comes to this season, what are you expecting from him? Like, is there anything that you need to see from him that will ease your mind about long term? And then on top of that, what were your thoughts yesterday? Game management. Is there anything that you feel like he could have done better as well?
Okay. So Sean Payton as a whole, like what I love about him is he demands respect and he gets it from his players. His players love him and he's a perfectionist. He wants to be the best. He doesn't like losing. He really doesn't like losing.
Yeah.
And he is meticulous in everything and he wants to be uh what is the word I'm looking for here? He just wants to be perfect for less of a better word here.
Sure.
And what I don't like is I felt like he dumbed down yesterday's offense for Bo Nix.
Yeah.
He didn't have him pushing the ball downfield until the end of the game where Bo Nix was at his best. It was a lot of screens, dinks and dunks, and when you think of Sean Payton, you think of this high-powered offense that he had with Drew Brees and everything that they had and the Super Bowl they won and all the records that they broke with Drew Brees. And I think that's what people were expecting with Bo Nix out the gate, and that's just not how that was going to work. And
Yeah.
so he has his quarterback, but I think he's trying to get him into the flow of it, into the game, and they're going to work on this. Just knowing like what Bo Nix does and what he wants, and he's a perfectionist too. They're going to go back this week, look at everything, and we're going to get into it. But he put out a very vanilla offense there. There was no trick plays. There was no. There was that fake field goal that they tried to do just to see if they can get Seattle to jump off sides.
Yeah.
But we haven't really got to see the trickery or the complex offense that is Sean Payton. And so people think he's lost his step, and I don't think that's where it's at yet.
No, I look, I agree with you. I think, you know, it's for Peyton, unfortunately, right? He kind of put a target on his back the minute he stepped in Denver. And there are a lot of people out there that don't want to see him succeed. But I think there are people that are naive to think that, like, if this year doesn't go well, is Sean Payton done? Like, is he possibly on the hot seat? And I think people have to remember that, like, this guy just cut Russell Wilson and took the biggest dead cap hit ever. Like,
Mhm,
they brought him in. Clearly, ownership said, "Hey, like, we are committing to you. Like, we trust you. Like, we'll let you go do what you need to do." Now, as for the game plan, yeah, I mean, look, I didn't get to watch it a ton live because I was at a wedding yesterday. I watched the full game replay last night. I watched it again this morning, and yeah, I think you're definitely right. I mean, we saw a lot of creativity even in preseason, right? And I think part of it was, you know, defenses run very vanilla
mhm,
coverages, and they don't want to show their hand. And so it allows the offenses to test things out. And I think he just coached a little scared, which is not really his thing. This is also a new thing for Sean Payton. People need to remember that. Like, he's never had a rookie first round
mhm,
quarterback. And so it's going to come with growing pains for him, too. But, I was a little upset. We didn't really see that RPO. I thought that was RPO
mhm,
would be a big thing, like no read option, and so that was a little frustrating for me. Um, and yeah, I mean, and it kind of flows into the next thing, which will be Bo Nix. But game plan wise, you know, we'll talk about. I guess since we're on Nix, we're on Peyton. We'll talk about just some of the game plan, and then we could dig a little bit deeper into the position groups. But we talked about it, and Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin. Franklin's inactive. We all assumed, hey, redshirt year, right? Like,
mhm,
most likely he's a little raw, right? And that's
mhm,
fine. But I look at I look at it as like batters and playing baseball, and like when you have coaches that like only bat lefties against righties, and they sit them down against lefty matchups, and they're when they're young players, and it's like these guys can't get better. Like, you have to allow them to grow. And I get frustrated, I think, in this situation, because even with Franklin, like, if it means Franklin goes out there and makes some mistakes, like, I'm okay with that. This is a rebuilding team. We're not competing this year. Like, Josh Reynolds was a nice piece, but at the end of the day, like, he's not in our future plans. Like,
mhm.
you need to get some guys out there that can provide some pop, and I just didn't really see that. So, um, that's the last thing I'll say. I don't know what your feelings were on the game plan outside of, we talked. I know you touched on a little bit, but like, I guess, do you feel like they should consider bringing up like a Troy Franklin? Like, is it too early for that? Like, are we hitting the panic button by saying, hey, like, we should have him be suiting up, or like, what are your thoughts on that?
I love Troy Franklin as far as like a speedster, your deep threat, and
Yep.
that's what they didn't have. They didn't have their Jacob. Man, I'm about to butcher his name. Vigil,
Oh, uh, Jalen
Virgil.
Virgil,
There we go.
Vigil
Yeah, they
Virgil.
didn't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
him.
yeah.
They didn't have Brandon Johnson. Both those guys are gone, and I think Denver thought that they were going to have those guys
Hmm.
clear the waivers and not get picked up,
Yep.
and have them on the practice squad so they can pull them up. And instead, all they had was Little Jordan,
Humphreys.
and so all they had was tall, big receivers. They had no speed threat. They had Marvin Mims, and he only ran 12 plays.
Yep.
And when I was watching the film, I went back and rewatched it this
Definitely.
morning. Or I mean, this afternoon when I got home from work. And out of those 12 plays, the passing plays, I saw them open 3 times. If Bo Nix could just hold on to the ball just a smidge longer, he comes open over the middle.
Yeah.
And so I think Sean Payton wanted to see what team he had. And I think that's all this game was. He didn't throw up his intricate plays. He didn't do anything special. He wanted to see what players he had And
Yeah.
shout out to Seattle's defense.
Mhm.
They are much improved. Their corners are big and fast, and so they were on us constantly. And so when all you can do is dump off screen passes and run slants because you have no burner over the top, your offense is going to look like that. And I think this was just a trial period to kind of see how it went. And that's I'm excited to see these next couple weeks and
Yeah.
see how they progress as an offense because that's what Sean Payton's doing. He's trying to figure out what he can do to make this offense as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
And with that, Bo Nix is still a rookie, people. So they need to remember that.
Yeah.
Every rookie minus Jaden Daniels, and he didn't look great passing wise, but for fantasy football, he looked great. Uh,
Yeah, he did.
every rookie just looked terrible week one, and they generally always do. You don't get even CJ Stroud last year did not look good until later into the season. He wasn't CJ Stroud, and
Yeah.
AR everybody was crazy over him. He had the lowest percentage completion passes this week, so it is a process, and that's what I want Denver fans to realize and hope that they continue to realize it is a process. And Bo Nix is going to grow. He's going to get better. Uh, some things I saw that I didn't like that he did is he kind of Drew locked it and would
Yeah.
fade back and throw off his back foot.
Mhm.
And
It's
I
bad
want to see him,
habits.
yeah, I want to see him step into the pocket. And there was probably 4 or 5 plays where he tried to force balls and he could have just took off and ran for like 10 yards easy.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I want to see.
I think they're gonna have to encourage him to run a little bit more too. He's got the legs. I mean, they're next gen stats. I think he was the third fastest runner on the week. So you know, like we know he has that mobility. And you know, I think, and it's funny we talked about the Rob uh, Darius Frisbee. We'll grab your question in a second, man. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like you're loyal to a fault. It's the same thing with the baseball reference and the Rob Thompson thing. Like little Jordan Humphreys should not be out snapping Marvin Mims by double. Like,
No,
you know,
not at all.
you have Devon Vele, Reynolds, Sutton, little Jordan Humphreys, like all four of them are double, triple, four times the amount of snaps that Mims is playing. The only benefit of the doubt I'll give Peyton is Greg Dulcich out snapped Troutman by almost double. So that was nice to see. At least Dulcich was on the field. Because again, we talk about loyalty to a fault.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but
Okay.
you know, it's so let me grab these questions here 1 second. Brent Curtis says, What was going on with Mims?" Yeah, I mean, it's not even I don't know if it's a Mims thing. I think part of the problem is Sean Payton, you know, he likes his big body receivers because he wants them to block in the run game. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, you know, if like the running game was dog shit yesterday too.
It
And
was.
so you know, you're putting these guys on the field and it's not helping the run game. So, like, there has to be some give and take there a little bit. Like, I'm okay with little, like, you know, Vele, Reynolds, these bigger body guys playing, but like, Mims should not be on the field for like 15% of the snaps. Like,
Mhm.
that's just way too little. And so that kind of stuff frustrated me. But I guess we'll answer Darius here because he's asking a fantasy questions and a question, and so I figure we'll get to that for him. He said, "Do I trade DJ Moore for Mike Evans?" Yeah, I mean,
If it's dynasty, no.
yeah,
If it's redraft, I would personally.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a big DJ Moore fan, and I actually had Moore ranked a little bit higher than Evans by like 2 or 3 spots, but Caleb Williams, just like Nick, struggled. He didn't even have a 100 yards yesterday. And Evans, this Bucks offense, I was high on Baker Mayfield yesterday. He was my 10th ranked quarterback, and I just everyone was worried about Canales leaving, but the offense, the play caller comes from the McVay tree. So he said PPR redraft. Thank you guys. Yeah, I would
Okay.
definitely hit it and I would do it. I love DJ Moore, but he's going to be splitting. And we've seen Mike Evans, like with talent around him, like he's been able to still do what he has to do for fantasy. So, Liam Cohen. Yes, Ryan said Liam Cohen. That was who I was thinking about. So if you have any more questions, guys, feel free to send that in to us. But moving on to just Bo Nix in general, like let's close out on him. Just some things to note about Nix at least is out of all the rookie quarterbacks, since 2010, any quarterback that has thrown over 42 passing attempts, they're 18, 108, and 2. Like,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, like I understand that the running game was not working for Denver, and I do think Peyton was boxed in a little bit. So I do want to give him a little bit of slack there. The
Mm-hmm.
running game wasn't really working, and I don't think he wanted to put Nix in harm's way. The O-line wasn't great yesterday either. And to your point before, like McDonald had that those pressures dialed up, and it was a lot to deal with. But you're asking a rookie to throw the ball 40 plus times in Seattle, their first game of the year, against a defensive minded head coach who was one of the better defensive head coaches in the last 10 years in the NFL. Like, it's a recipe for disaster. And when we look at other quarterbacks around the NFL that were rookies, Caleb Williams, we look at Jaden Daniels, like they didn't, don't get me wrong, the Bucks have a good defensive front. Their secondary's okay, but Antoine Winfield went down yesterday. He wasn't there the whole game, and they have more holes. They lost Devin White. That defense isn't that great. It's just a good, stout run defense. And then you look at the Titans, who I think were improved, but their secondary is better. They brought in L'Jarius Sneed. They have a couple
Mm-hmm.
other guys, Diggs, Adams, but like they all had easier matchups, and it's not like they blew it up. Jaden Daniels was good for fantasy, and he didn't like throw up on himself, but it's not like he was amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
they all have better weapons than Knicks. I mean, Eckler, Brian Robinson, Sanat, Ertz,
Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin, yeah, Noah Brown. Noah Brown would probably be our third receiver on this team.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
if that, like maybe
he
even our
might be
wide
our
receiver
second.
too. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, it's not like these other guys really blew it up. And so I don't know. That's all I want to say about Knicks. I mean, and then and the only other thing I would say about Peyton that I forgot to mention is we talked about it before we went live, but like 21% pre-snap motion, second lowest in the NFL, the Broncos were, and offenses that are in the highest in the NFL for pre-snap motion are the best offenses in the league. Miami, Detroit, 49ers, like all these
Chiefs.
teams. Yeah, Chiefs, all these teams that do pre-snap motion. So, there's got to be a little bit of wiggle room, but I also think Peyton didn't open it up completely because he didn't want to
Yeah.
put Knicks in harm's way. So, anything else to close out on Knicks before we move? I mean, we could touch on the wide receivers a little bit more if you want, and then we can move to the other side of the ball.
Yeah, no, the only two things I saw from Knicks were the two big bad decisions were his two interceptions, and he could have had two more that were dropped, but
Yeah.
you can't throw it, you can't turn the ball over in the red zone. That's a big no-no.
Mm-hmm.
And then with 5 minutes left, they're driving, they're scoring, and he throws it into that triple coverage into Cortland.
Yeah.
I look over, there's nobody open there, and he just has to run that ball or throw it away. And I
Yeah.
want to see him run. He literally was the fastest quarterback on next gen stats. He ran 20.05 miles per hour. That's flying.
Yeah.
And so he can move, and I want to see him run more. I was mad that he didn't do the RPOs like you brought up, and just
Yeah.
I want to see it more. And so we'll see. We're going to get a lot of answers this year as to how good Sean Payton is, Bo Nix, if he can grow. And that's what we're seeing this year. It's growth. And we want to see. We do not have a talented roster.
No.
And
No.
that's
It's a lot of
like,
youth. That's why when we talk about Mims and Franklin, like this team traded up for Mims last year. That's why it's frustrating. This is not a player from an old past regime, like where Peyton's like, I'm trying to fit him, but isn't fit in my scheme. Like, you drafted this guy. Like,
they
figure
traded
out a
up
way
for
to get
Troy
him in the
Franklin.
scheme. Yeah, and you traded up to get Franklin. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. And I think unfortunately for Knicks, like I think he tried to play hero ball a little bit at the end
Mm-hmm.
there because he's pressing because there's no explosive plays, and so he's trying to make something happen. And he's a rookie, and it's a tough environment. So I think
Oh, yeah.
the criticism is necessary, but at the same time, like we also have to be realistic and say, hey, like none of the rookie quarterbacks looked amazing this week either, and he had the
Mhm.
toughest opponent or test this week. I do want to answer one question here as well from Darius. Again, he said someone wants to trade me Xavier Worthy for Devontae Adams. Do I pull the trigger? Sorry to get in the way. Nah, it's all good, Darius. We appreciate you asking us. I mean, I know for me, my answer would probably be Adams, and I'm not that high on Adams, but Xavier Worthy, like, he touched the ball 3 times. One of them was a touchdown on broken coverage. The other one was a trick end around where they had a convoy for him, and he's fast. He looked good, and I think he's going to be a good NFL player. But there's only so much to go around, and Andy Reid does typically ease his wide receivers in. I was off Worthy this week, and I said he's going to have 1 or 2 big plays drawn up for him, and it's a matter of getting in the end zone, and that's exactly what happened. Marquise Brown isn't here. Justin Watson was seeing good time on the field. Like they like guys like him, and even the backup tight end for Travis Kelce was on the
Right.
field
Yeah.
catching passes. Noah Gray. So I would go Adams just because he's a guy you can rely on every week, and he still has upside. He's still one of the best receivers in the league, and I don't even love Adams this year, but I think it's a pretty easy trade for me to make. So
Yeah, I agree with that, especially since it's redraft worthy next year, probably.
yeah,
You're going to get boom or bust 100% there, and you get consistency with Devontae Adams. So,
yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right, so shifting over, let's talk. I want to talk about the O line really quick and the running backs in conjunction. I know we said we go defense. We'll touch on this really quickly. Garrett Bowles, right, I think he left the game for a little bit. I don't know
uh,
how did he leave the game. How long was he out of the game? Why don't you
I'm
tell
pretty
me?
sure he missed the rest of the game when he went out.
Yeah,
We had the backup left tackle, but he has a high ankle sprain is
right,
his problem.
right.
So that might be week to week.
I think it was Peart that came in, right? It was Peart,
Yep.
and I think I read that they said it was a contusion actually with Garrett, and the
Oh,
X-rays were negative. So that sounds like pretty positive, but I could be
okay.
wrong. I thought I had saw that. But correct me if I'm wrong there. But again, I didn't. It's tough when you're watching the replay because it's not like they're showing me like, oh, Garrett Bowles just went down, and I'm sitting
Mhm.
waiting on a commercial. I did remember seeing that the X-rays were negative, so you could check that if you want, and just double check. But I thought I heard it was negative and that was positive, but it still might be an ankle sprain. I'm not exactly sure. But from an O line standpoint, um, center wise, he looked good, right? I mean, young guy. I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, he's going up against a first round pick, highly drafted, big boy, and I mean, he held his own for a good bit. He had some highs, he had some lows. But other than that, I mean, what was your vibe on the O line? And do you think the running backs like seemed like they were slipping a lot on the field too? I don't know what was going on there, but what were your thoughts on both of the position groups there?
So the offensive line, I don't think they played as bad as everybody says they played. For the most part, they gave him a clean pocket. He chose to drift back. He didn't step up a lot, and
Yeah.
so he is a rookie. Those are things he's going to do, and I guarantee you, him and Sean Payton are going to talk about that, and he's going to correct that against the Steelers because if he runs backwards like that, TJ's getting him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But yeah, no. Literally, my first show note is Javonte gets ankle tackled on the first play of the game, or he
Yep.
scores a touchdown. So that was kind of annoying. He didn't look as fast as he did in the preseason. And so, I mean, you're not playing against the starters, so that kind of makes sense. But he also was trying to dance too much instead of being his, I'm going to run you over type of guy.
Mhm.
And so I was curious about that. But then, yeah, he slipped on the second play. And so you go from second and short to a third and medium play. And so that just gets us off to a bad start there. But Jaleel is not a 3 down back, and they just kept playing him, and that's what kind of annoyed me. Estime only got 2 carries. He was 2 carries for 14 yards. He had the fumble where he leaped over the guy, but he looked fast and explosive. I'd like to see him used more if they're not going to use Javonte. They only gave him 8 carries. And so they kind of got away from it, and they were trying to do the screen game to make up for the run game. And I think they have the offensive line to run, and they just abandoned it. And
Yeah.
so I didn't like seeing that. And
Well, and
so
they're also up. They were up. Like it's not like they were dominating and they were up by 20 points, but like it was a close game. Like it's not like they were chasing points. They didn't have
mhm,
to abandon the run game so quickly. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I want to see them run, especially you just paid the belly himself,
Hmm.
run behind him, and that's what they're good at. I think this is a running offensive line, and they kind of got away from it. So I want to see that next week. And Sean admitted to coaching bad. He said it's not Bo Nix. We all need to step up. It's a lot to ask your rookie quarterback to like play hero ball like he was trying to do.
Right.
And so nobody stepped up for him. They had 2 drops. The receivers had 2 drops on 3rd down that would have
Hmm.
converted. And then there were some plays. Dulcich got short on a 3rd down catch. And so there's a lot that could have gone differently. But I I just don't think we played our strengths. And
Yeah.
he kind of just got away from it.
Well, and that's my biggest issue. Like, this is a team that we all assumed, hey, their identity is going to be running the football.
Mhm.
And when you don't need to, it's not like they were getting like blown out or they were chasing points. Like, you have these slow, big receivers because you want them to block in the run game. And I get it. But then if you're going to abandon the run like we did, then Mims should have been on the field. Like, in my opinion, I know we're going back to the wide receivers and stuff, but
Yeah, bouncing around.
I know. But the point is, like, with the run game, like, you can't give up on it that quickly. I get it wasn't working out. But if you were that afraid, and like that's where I don't get it. Like if they were sheltering Knicks a little bit by not being creative, then why like wouldn't you run the football more? Even if it's not working out. Like Estime had that big run for 12 yards, he fumbled, and then he didn't get on the field again.
Yep.
And then Peyton came out and said, "Well, I don't knock him for hurdling. The defender just made a really nice play. I'm never going to tell a guy not to do that." So my thing is like, if you really feel that way, and it could be coach speak, he could have been fucking pissed off, but he's not going to throw his guy under the bus. Then why is Estime not on the field then at that point? If you believe in the guy, Tyler fucking Batty, in my opinion, like Blake Watson should not have made this team. He should have been a P squad guy. Tyler Batty is a guy that provides juice as well.
Mhm.
Like we need all the pop that we can get. And
I was just
so,
about to bring him up.
yeah,
We
yeah.
could
So
probably see them coming up. So
I I wouldn't doubt it. I really wouldn't doubt it. And I don't know. I mean, like I love Javante too, but it's the thing that's tough about Javante is that it's just there's no home run hitting with him, right?
mhm,
It's a lot of grinding it out with him, and you have to commit to a guy like that. If you're gonna like, or else Javante's just like there's no reason to have a guy like him if you're not gonna use him. He's a guy that, in my opinion, like you need to give them reps. Like it's like David Montgomery, right? Like David Montgomery is not a home run hitter, but like the more touches that he gets, like the better he
yep,
gets in the game. Like guys like that need more touches, and you're neutering the guy. Like give Javante the carries and let him do what he's got to do if this is what our identity is going to be. But like I think there's just a little identity crisis, and they're a little confused there. Like it's like
mhm,
you let go of Judy, you let go of Tim Patrick, you wanted Josh Reynolds and little Jordan Humphreys, like, and then Mims isn't on the field. Like, it's like you're committing to like big bodies and like smash mouth football, but
and
you're
then
not
don't do it.
doing it. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
and just I wanna see I wanna see it, and he just didn't do it, and so
Yeah.
it's interesting, and he like I said, it is his fault at that point,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so he took responsibility, but you can't see that consistently, and so I'm more mad at Sean Payton than anybody else on this team because players are just trying to play, but
Yeah.
he makes the personnel decisions and the offensive play calls.
Hey, the defense came ready to play. Yeah,
Yeah, they did.
Vance Joseph,
Oh
and
my god.
we'll shift over to the defense, and then we'll try to spend a couple minutes on this because I want to talk about your thoughts about tonight. Obviously, we're about to roll in to
Mhm,
Thursday, well, Monday Night Football.
mhm.
But with the defense, what like, what was your takeaway? I mean, Vance Joseph got a lot of crap. I think Peyton put him in a tough situation last year. He wanted him to run a Giro Evero's defense. They were running a hybrid, and then it became a disaster. Defense tightened up halfway through the year
Mhm,
because they allowed Vance to run his defense.
mhm.
They came out looking like they were ready to play. I mean, a lot of pressure on Gino. Riley Moss looked pretty good. Tyler Lockett's a veteran. Like, he's gonna get the best of you every once in a while. He's still a good football player. And when you have Pat Surtain, you're gonna get picked on.
Yeah,
Players got to make plays, and the offensive wide receivers get paid too. But Riley Moss for his first game against good wide receivers, veteran wide receivers. I thought he held his own. I
yeah.
don't know what your thoughts on him. The secondary, you can loop in the safeties as well on that. But what were your thoughts on the secondary as a whole, and then you can get into the safeties.
Secondary as a whole, I think is good.
Yeah,
I I love Riley Moss. I love what he did. And like you said, Tyler Lockett is a seasoned vet. He knows how to get his yards and knows what he needs to do to get his yards.
yeah,
And Riley Moss was an inch away from batting that ball away and giving
I
Denver
know.
a shot to win that game. And so that kind of sucks, but it is his first start. And he's young. This entire team's young, and people need to understand that this is going to happen. But with experience, they're going to get better. And so I'm concerned with the safety play.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
PJ Locke getting juked out by Geno Smith in the open field. I mean, come on, man.
PJ Locke missed 3 open field tackles. And
Yeah.
not only that, I watched him multiple times. He's not hustling to the ball on that first Kenneth Walker touchdown. You can watch him. He doesn't sprint to the sideline, and if he does, he pushes him out instead of him diving into the end zone. And
Hmm.
so, like, I don't
Yeah.
like that. And you want to know who gives you hustle? JL Skinner, because you
Yeah.
saw it on special teams. He made 2 great plays on special teams. He got the muff punt and then the ball down at the 1 between him and Smith. So I want to see the hustle. I didn't see it out of PJ Locke. So if he's not going to do it, that's going to, hey, anytime, that's going to cause problems. And like you said, Moss is going to get picked on. Pat Surtain's over there. And so I think he was there. He was there every time. He didn't get beat bad. He just was a millisecond or away from making pass breakups or making good plays. And
Yeah.
so, and it
No, no,
wasn't
go
like
ahead.
he's getting torched by somebody bad. It's Tyler Lockett, and he's been doing this for
Yeah,
a
Tyler
decade.
Lockett's creative. Like, he doesn't do anything flashy, but he understands his leverage on the field.
Mhm,
It's just one of those things, man. Like, I think for not a rookie, but he's pretty much a rookie at this point. Um,
mhm.
I think Riley Moss held his own. I didn't really get a feel on Brandon Jones much. Um,
He was making tackles. He was in there, and that's what
yeah,
I like seeing.
yeah.
Uh, but what was the guy? Our nickel starts with an M. McMillan. No,
Jaquan McMillan. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, McMillan. Yeah. Uh, Loved him. He got a terrible pass interference call that was called on him, which they scored a touchdown off of after. And uh, Geno Smith ran out. And at that point, you are allowed to push a receiver if he's outside the pocket. And he pushed him out of bounds. And the ref just pass interference called. And that cost us. There was the third down non pass interference call on Cortland Sutton.
Hmm.
And then there was a terrible one on Pat Surtain where they were hand fighting, and that led to a touchdown. So, not blaming the refs one bit. I'm just saying there's calls, and at the end of the day, we're still in this game at the end. And we had so many mistakes, and that's what I want Denver fans to remember. We made a ton of mistakes, and at the end, we're still in this. And that's what's going to make us better is if we clean up our mistakes, which is 100% what Sean Payton is about, being a perfectionist. And I think it's gonna happen. We had a bunch of penalties. Um, Baron Browning at the end on that third down offsides that led to them getting a first down. Like those little plays by the young guys, the mistakes, I think they get better. And but our pass rush looks so good, and that excites me.
Yeah, I Jonathan Cooper looked good. Benito looks good. Browning, I mean, I feel like Cooper and Benito stuck out a little bit more than Browning did. But
Mm-hmm.
all in all, I mean, I think the rotation's deeper, you know, than we expected, to be completely honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think all in all, the defense is. I was worried most about the secondary depth in general. I like Jaquan McMillan. The safeties really were my biggest concern. Similar to you, Brandon Jones. He's got to knock that rust off a little bit. He missed a lot of preseason, and
Yep.
he's never been a full time starter. Neither is Locke. Like this is growing pains. But to your point, like this is a team that was in it till the end. And not for nothing, like the only thing I will give them is Broncos teams in the past would have gave up. And so it is encouraging to at least see that they didn't, sometimes it's week one. So it's like give up. Like, I mean, it's only week one. You'd hope they don't give up. But I think sometimes these guys get discouraged, especially we've seen with the Broncos, and it's like, oh, here we go again. Like,
Mm-hmm.
another season like this. Like it because even the fans, if the fans feel it, the players feel it. Some of these guys like Sutton that have been there for a while, like, they feel it. Bowles, like some of those guys. So yeah, I mean, I'm impressed. I'm worried looking ahead at Pittsburgh. I'm worried about the front. I'm not worried about the secondary. Joey
Mm-hmm.
Porter Jr. is young. Minka's Minka. He's going to probably make some plays. But I'm not as worried about the secondary as, from a matchup perspective. Joey Porter's long and he's lanky. And he's a bigger guy, but I think they're going to come out with a little bit of a better game plan, hopefully. But I just need to see it, man. I can't
Yep.
sit here like I worry that if this team doesn't find a way to establish the run, they're not going to they're not going to stand a chance. And Pittsburgh just made it out against freaking Atlanta last week, and it's not like Atlanta's defense, they're improved, but it's not like they're like monsters on defense either. This is two teams who, want to have a running identity. Unfortunately, I think they have a better established rushing attack. With I think Najee Harris is better than Javonte at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And Jalen Warren's a nice number two back, and I think he's better than Jaleel. But we'll see how that goes. But I think the run they need to if they don't establish the run this year, like they're toast because they don't have the skill players on the outsides to like give them leeway, right? To like make up for that. So yeah, I'm
Exactly.
I'm a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. No. Another thing about the defensive line that scares me is Cooper. 2 sacks, looked amazing. He gets sucked inside a lot on
Yeah,
run plays, and every single one of their chunk plays was a bounce back to the right side. And so I want to see him do better there. I want to see him set the edge and not just go in there running like a madman. But he is
yeah,
young, so he can learn from that. And he looked at 2 sacks. It's there. And if Denver ever gets a lead, I love this defensive line to get there. Like,
yeah.
but we just haven't got to see that.
I think Cooper, the funny thing about Cooper is he profiles like more of a run defender. Like that's the thing too. It's probably more about discipline with him, and setting the edge, like you said, and not getting sucked in. But it's deeper than we thought, right? Like that was like a huge concern, like this
Mhm.
offseason, like
Yeah.
the depth on that D line, and so yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how that group grows. Cody Barton was okay, I guess. I mean, That's putting it lightly. I mean, I didn't have high expectations for him to begin with anyway. Um, Alex Singleton's Alex Singleton. He's gonna run around with his hair on fire. He's not the most athletic guy. But he plays hard, and I mean, he's better than most guys in the league that you're gonna get there. I'd
Mhm.
say he's a slightly above average middle linebacker.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We have one more question here from my buddy Out of Rhythm. Jamie's in here as well. And Out of Rhythm said McMillan or Vele. He's referring to McMillan on the Bucks or Devon
Mhm.
Vele. I prefer McMillan just because I think he's gonna have a better role. Vele was peppered, and I think he's definitely both. I love both of these guys as
Yeah.
stashes in fantasy, but I think that offense is just gonna be better in the Bucks, and they're gonna throw the ball a lot there. So I don't know how you feel, but I prefer McMillan, the pedigree, higher round talent, and just a better player
No,
overall.
I agree with that 100%. And if you watch the Bucks game, he dropped a touchdown as well. So
Yeah.
he does get it. I think he got 3 targets, and 2 of them should have been touchdowns. And so I think he is the third option in that offense, but those guys are old. So if you're playing dynasty, that's
Hmm.
the route you want to go, I think, with McMillan. Vele's nice. I think he has a lot of potential, but he is a seventh round draft pick, and uh, he did get peppered. He had 8 catches for 39
Hey,
yards.
Vele could be good though. I mean, like
Yeah.
I'm
Oh no, I
okay
don't
with
hate
I'm okay
Pele.
with it. Yeah, I think we know what we're gonna get out of the Bucks offense. So like that's why, like with Vele, like I just don't know what this like at least at the Bucks, like they can run it. They can also throw it. Like with us, it's like we don't really know what our identity is gonna be. So Jamie came in and he said, I bet the Jets money line 50 to win 125. I kind of think it's a lock without CMC. Banged up Ayuk and Purdy looking like trash. Yeah, but I'm watching the game right now and just burped because I'm drinking a beer. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm watching it right now. Looks like the San Fran is driving. If you like the Jets, and you really want to put your money where your mouth is, I mean, San Fran, if they score here, you might as well just hit them on the live line because you'll get some better odds there. I did catch, and I was telling you, but I caught I caught that Jordan Mason live line at plus 650. And then we were on the podcast. We were all live when it came out, and I looked, and the line was still up at 650. I bet it, and then Anthony, one of my co-hosts, he tried to bet it, and literally, he was like the line's dropped, and it was at like one plus 120, like right
Yeah.
after that. So, yeah, I mean, I think I'm glad. Did you take anything? What do you have tonight?
Yeah, no, I got Mason plus 13 and a half rushing yards and anytime touchdown
Receiving or rushing?
rushing.
Oh shit! It was rushing. I thought it was receiving.
I'm pretty sure.
I was gonna say, really?
Yeah,
Maybe that line didn't adjust.
that one didn't, but the anytime touchdown did adjust, and
Hmm.
I didn't get the juice I wanted on it.
Hey, that's not bad. I have Kittle to score. I have Debo, and I have Tyler Conklin to score. I don't know. I
I
just
love Conklin. I
yeah.
also have another bet, and it's 40 yards receiving and 40 yards receiving from Conklin and Brees. This was way before, and it was like plus 600 odds.
Oh wow.
And they both did it 7 times last year. So I was just like, they have a better quarterback with Aaron Rodgers. Why not see? So I
Yeah,
took them on that.
I don't hate that. They had a boost. It was for CMC and Brees. They combined for 35 rushing yards. Obviously CMC's out, so they voided it and kicked it back. But yeah, I mean, I guess Brees Hall just fumbled is what Out of Rhythm said. I guess that's how the 49ers got the ball back. Jamie said I have Brees Hall anytime touchdown parlayed with 60 plus yards. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that at all.
No, that
I don't
sounds
know if
good.
it's rushing or receiving. I'm gonna assume it's rushing though, to be honest with you, because rushing plus receiving would probably be a little bit higher. But yeah, man, this
Oh,
was
it is
fun.
receiving yards. Oh, wow.
It was receiving that you got from
Yeah,
Mason. Okay, I was gonna say because 13 and a half is pretty light. I would have
that's
actually
what I
thought that
thought.
his rushing yards. I mean, if McCaffrey didn't get ruled out, I wonder if his rushing yards would have been Like, I wonder what his rushing yards would have been. Like, maybe 5, 6? I don't know. I mean, 13.5 doesn't sound that
I
crazy.
think his rushing yards were 11.5. That's why I took it, but
Mm.
I must have misread that. Well, now I'm hoping the Jets can do something. As he gets some just dump off screen passes
Hmm.
like CMC. So let's hope so. Man, I can't believe I misread that. What a rookie move.
Yeah. I mean, it's all good. I saw it and I actually bet the same thing after I saw what you said. But hey man, this was fun. We could definitely do it again. I don't
I'm
know if we'll
down.
do it. I don't know what day, if we do it this time next week, or maybe we'll do a Twitter Spaces and just kind of get some people on there. But yeah, it was fun. Jamie, well, two Jamies actually. Out of Rhythm's name is Jamie as well. But appreciate you guys popping in. Jamie said, I want to see Garendo's role and how they use him with CMC out. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got the special teams role on lock, Garendo, but I'm sure Mason's not going to get all the touches, so Garendo may
Mm.
slot in a little bit. And Out of Rhythm said it's the rushing plus receiving. That's the total combined on a parlay. Never asked anyone. I don't know. I mean, I didn't
60
make the
total, I
bet.
like. I
What do you
like
say?
anytime in 60 total.
Yeah, I like it too. I think he's asking I think he
Oh,
was asking about Jamie's above that he had 60 plus yards.
yeah, yeah,
Uh
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't hate it. Even if it's 60 rushing yards and a touchdown, I don't really hate that either. I think Kittle's gonna have a pretty solid game too. So we'll see. I'm going against Ayuk and Fred Warner in fantasy right now. Jamie said rushing. That's what I figured, Jamie. I'm going against Ayuk and I've got Kittle in one league where I'm up 10, and then Ayuk and Fred Warner because we do like one IDP in another league. So yeah, I'm probably gonna get taken L in both of those leagues, but it's all right.
The
Um,
yeah. I have Brees in one where he needs to score 26 points, and the other guy has Greg Jennings. So
ugh, ugh,
yeah, I might
God.
take an L in that one.
Yeah,
But the
that's
rest I have locked up, and I wasn't even worried about. I think I went 10-3 in all my money leagues.
10-3 is pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take that.
10-3 is pretty good. I'm dealing with a fantasy issue, so I'm like texting because I have some people that are asking me about. I guess Jordan Mason wasn't able to be picked up, then he was, so I'm trying to sort that out. And
Oh, you're
obviously,
commish.
yeah, I commissioned so many leagues, man. I hate it.
Oh God, you poor soul.
Somebody's got to do it, man. But yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, let's sign off here. Appreciate everybody that did tune in, both Jamies. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, Darius, for popping in as well before. Ryan, we appreciate it. Brant Curtis, thank you guys for taking some time out. Obviously, Monday Night Football is on. We're gonna go hop off and start to watch that a little bit. But crush your bets today, guys. And hopefully you enjoyed us talking about the Broncos. I don't know how many fans we got on my podcast, BSing Sports Podcast, but if you don't already and you are listening on our podcast platform, follow Jacob at BSing Sports. That's BS and just literally BSING Sports Bets on Twitter. Subscribe to them on YouTube as well. And it was a blast. We will see you guys next time.